Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sulani Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by your friends at the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, North by Northwest Digital, We Believe, We Vote, and the McGarry Law Office, the landlord's attorney. Now, here's Sulani.
Well, welcome to this edition of Meet the Candidate. My guest is Candace Mumm. Welcome, Candace.
Thank you.
Candace is candidate for Spokane City Council District 3, Position 2. And I know I interviewed you last year, so you're kind of familiar with the format, but just tell us about where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up here in Spokane. How lucky. Yeah. For me, I actually grew up on the north side, and my dad and my grandfather had a pharmacy. And so we lived just a couple doors down from the model pharmacy, which most people, it's Hamilton in Illinois, and most people know for the donut shop that was there for so long. That was my grandpa's pharmacy store. And back then they had the malt shops and the, sort of the counter
the soda
counter, and that was the time. And my dad really thought that was great. He liked kind of that food service side of everything. And he actually switched from pharmacy to running restaurants.
Wow.
And that's part of my history. So in the 60s, my dad bought an old restaurant, or I don't know what it was, maybe it was an ice cream place on Monroe Street, and he brought the very first fast food tacos to Spokane, Taco Time. That was our first store there.
Wow.
And back then, as a kid, you could work in your parents' restaurants, and there weren't any real big restrictions. And so I started out cleaning parking lots in that Taco Time. And tacos were kind of unusual.
It would have been new then.
In Spokane. Yeah. And so everyone was a little interested. They called them tacos.
Well, yeah.
But he also sold milkshakes because he used to make those. So the milkshakes with the spicy food went really well, and it took off. And we all worked in the family business. I worked sorting pinto beans in the back, and I always liked working the cash register because you could meet people and see people. And I loved counting things, and so I think that's what my first foray was in finance, was making sure that there were 50 pennies in the rolls.
So you learned the importance of keeping track of the details.
Yes. And how hard you have to work to earn $1 and what customer service is. And so I got to work at all of the family restaurants. I worked on the South Hill Taco Time. I worked on the North Side Taco Times. I worked at Casablanca. We had a big full-service restaurant downtown. I was a hostess at Rocking Horse Saloon, and just really grew up in the restaurant business. And all through my high school years, in junior high, I remember Expo. I was working downtown, and it was just really a fun place to be and a fun place to grow up. And as a kid, maybe I had an unusual upbringing. Maybe I didn't have as much time, running through the fields and playing in the woods and being on maybe more organized things. But I loved working, so it was a great experience for me.
Okay. Yeah. On the north side, which schools did you go to?
I went to...
that's a Spokane question, right?
Of course. I mean, I'm Shadle Park Highlander. Absolutely. And I actually got involved I went to Glover as well, Glover Middle School, and I got involved in a little bit of government there. I actually was ASB vice president. That was my first election. Yeah. When I was 16, my very first election, I won my first election. So I guess it stuck.
Well, besides running for ASB vice president at Glover Middle School, what turns you to public service? Not everybody runs for office.
Yeah, I am. I love this season of my career path. I actually graduated with a degree in broadcast journalism, and really enjoyed that end of public service, being the fourth estate and doing the sort of things that you do, making sure that the news is fair and balanced, and to go out and investigate things that need to be investigated, and to cover the issues that really impact people where they live, and maybe find stories that inspire as well, and finding a contribution. I really feel, especially at the time that I was in journalism, we made a big contribution. I worked around the country in small cities and big cities, and then came back home and was managing editor here at KXLY during a great time when journalism was really at the forefront of Spokane, and we earned a lot of Emmy Awards as a group and covered a lot of very important stories that were happening here and really were, I think, integral to helping the community survive from some pretty serious issues. We had a firestorm. I don't know if you were here then, but it really was KXLY radio that stayed on the air, that kept the community together. We had some great staff that worked.
And Mount St. Helens, when Mike Fitzsimmons was on for constantly.
Right. I mean, we had a community crisis, and they were the voice of safety and really the communication piece. I think, we went through what happens when you lose cell service when you're in the middle of that big power outage a couple of years.
Yes.
You go back to that radio, right? And you can find out what's really going on. I know all the libraries were filled with cell phones trying to get charged, but we are so used to our phones being our communication device. But, back then it was the radio station. So anyway, that part of public service, I had the opportunity to cover a lot of city council meetings, county commission meetings, police guilds, that sort of thing. And so really observed that and got a sense for the community, and then went on to a few other things. But that was my first start.
Well, you mentioned some other cities that you worked in. What are some things that you learned in those cities that you feel like you've brought back to Spokane? Well,
I worked in the Midwest, and I had never really experienced the extreme differences between farmers and Native Americans. They have such different lives, and there were a lot of conflicts. There were actually some pretty tense times with some standoffs down there, and really covered the issues of the Indigenous people, their poverty, their plight, especially even in the criminal justice system, and then the farmers, their struggles with their lives depend on the weather. They can't control that. And really seeing those two different types of people, how they live together in a small community. I experienced a very dynamic community working for Las Vegas, for a station down there. And we covered all kinds of issues. I really became kind of a crime reporter and a justice reporter. I probably went to more than 100 homicides. I witnessed an execution. I attended some pretty important things that were happening in human history down there when a very famous actor was diagnosed with AIDS, and that was right when AIDS kind of shocked everyone. And we had a lot of other big things that happened down in Las Vegas. I also worked in San Diego and also up in Seattle as well. So came back home and maybe got a little more of the West Coast issues. But Spokane's a mid-sized city. It has some of the same issues some of these other cities have as well. So
okay, that covers some of the lessons learned from first jobs in travel. What besides being Sheila Park Highlander? You had a degree in broadcast journalism. You went to school
Pacific Lutheran University, and I wanted to go to a college that was close enough to home to bring home the laundry, but maybe far enough away so I could grow up a little bit. And that was just right. And so I graduated in that degree and went into that field. And then after I had kids, I went back to school.
And what did you at
Gonzaga?
At Gonzaga.
At Gonzaga, and I got my master's in business administration. I had been involved in several businesses over the last decade or so, and I really wanted to elevate my game. Especially, there's been so many advances in technology and analytics, and we're just doing things so much smarter now in business. Before it was just kind of gut feel and hard work. Now we're actually, analyzing where's the best location, what do our customers actually want, CRMs and all kinds of things. So I finished that degree up and launched a small company here in Spokane. So that's my education. I also graduated from Leadership Spokane, which I know quite a few people who have gone on into public services have also graduated from Leadership Spokane.
Okay. Well, we're down to that wrap up where you get to have the last word and say answer the question: why vote for Candace Mumm? for Spokane City Council District 3, Position 2.
Well, thank you. Well, I am currently the city councilwoman representing Northwest Spokane. I was elected in 2013 by all my great neighborhoods, Indian Trail and 5 Mile, the Northwest neighborhood, Audubon, Downriver, North Hill, also Emerson Garfield. West Central is in my neighborhood. Part of Riverside is in my neighborhood as well, and a little bit of West Hills too. So we have done a lot in the last 4 years and really brought some great projects to the community, and I'm excited about what we're about to do for Shadle Center. I remember growing up, and Shadle was a great place to go and shop and have lunch and go to Lamont's and everything, and I think it could use a little boost. So we brought both neighborhoods together to plan in the future, so I'm excited about that. And I've just been working with a lot of great projects, and we've really come together, I think, as a city, and we're doing much more cooperative planning. I had a background in planning as being the chair of the plan, or president of the Plan Commission, and served on that for 10 years. And I just am really looking forward to implementing really what the citizens want and what the voices of the community and the neighborhood wants to see happen. And I think we're just about there. So please re-elect Candace Mumm for Spokane City Council.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming, Candace.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks Online thanks our community-minded partners at Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, North by Northwest Digital, We Believe, We Vote, and the McGarry Law Office, the landlord's attorney, for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.